Hello, old WoodStone here, and I thought I'd talk about a few things today that are really close to WoodStone's heart. But let's first do this. WoodStone's ukulele. This is the key of C, the chord of C. It's got a nice sound. Very nice sound. Here's an F. Very nice. A minor. WoodStone thinks those two sound quite a bit alike. I love the ukulele. The ukulele gives me a lot of pleasure just holding it. And that's a good thing because old WoodStone doesn't play the ukulele very well. But once again, here's that C. And that F. And that A minor. Keep music in your life. Even if what you play is the radio or the CD player, if you download or stream or do any of those things, that's fine. Just keep music in your life all the time. And if you run across a musician or an artist that you really like, make sure you support them. Without your support, many people just simply can't afford to make music, and that will constrict who gets to hear the music that they can produce. So make sure you support musicians that you like. Certainly not old WoodStone. Let me put my hat on. A lot of people ask me about my hats and the different things I have on them. This one right here, as you can see, I have a variety of things. This is a medal that I received from Pagan Spirit Gathering, and it shows that I'm a pagan and that I served my country in the military. Old WoodStone was in the Army for a little better than 6 years. This right here is a oak and an acorn, which is kind of a sacred symbol to WoodStone. So there you go. One of the things I want to do today is I want to read a book, and this is called Pip and Squeak. And Pip and Squeak are two little mice, mouse friends, I suppose, and they live in a very cool little community that is in evidently somebody's living room. They must be cat free there. But the mice here, they have an opera house that's sold out. There's a theater made out of a suitcase. Interestingly enough, they like the Mets, which is, if I like a baseball team, it would be the New York Mets. So that's kind of neat. There's a tailor. There's some place called Tuning Fork. Looks like maybe a little restaurant. There's arts supplies, and the book is dedicated for siblings everywhere with great sympathy, and it's specifically for somebody named Darling Sydney. So I love what they did with the bicycle here. It's sort of a carousel on the wheel, and they've can spin the little mice citizens around on it. It says, once upon a time, there were two brothers, Pip and Squeak, and they lived together in a big house in a pleasant neighborhood. Pip was an artist. He painted pictures. Squeak wrote songs and he sang them in a hearty baritone. Pip and Squeak had lots of friends, but they were not friends with each other. Pip said the sound of Squeak singing hurt his ears, and Squeak said the smell of Pip's paint irritated his delicate throat. It made him cough so much it was a miracle that he could utter even one note. So Pip stayed in his studio at one end of the house, and Squeak played his music in his room at the other end, and the very big room in the middle stayed empty, except for one day out of the year. On that one day, Pip and Squeak always gave a big party for all of their friends. The brothers would work for days getting ready. They cleaned, they shopped, they baked, they decorated. And here's one of them saying, my side's going to be cleaner than yours, and showing cookies off, and this one's the paint, I think it's Pip, says, these look much better than yours. My card is faster. Green and orange will look nice, not as nice as blue and purple. So even though they're getting ready for this party to invite all of their friends over, Pip and Squeak are fighting with one another. Squeak always made a special recipe for hogberry nog, and Pip always made his special recipe for hogberry nog. Squeak said his was the best in the universe. Pip said his was the best in the universe, plus 50 miles outside of it. Every year the party was the same. For entertainment, Squeak would sing his newest songs up in his music room, and Pip stayed downstairs. Then Pip would show off his latest paintings in his studio, and Squeak would stay downstairs. But one day something new happened. Squeak wrote a very long song. It was his longest song ever. I'm going to sing it in the big room, he told Pip. And I'll stand on a real stage, and I'll be the star of the party. No fair, said Pip. He ran upstairs and he started painting some new pictures. They were his biggest pictures ever. Soon there was no more room left in the studio. And downstairs in the big room, there was always plenty of space. Hey, shouted Squeak, you've ruined my stage. This is a mess. It is not. It is my art exhibit. My paintings will be everywhere, and I will be star of the show. No fair, shouted Squeak. Pip pulled Squeak's tail. Squeak yanked Pip's ears. Pip ran. Squeak ran after him. Back and forth, up and down, and around they went. And suddenly, Pip tripped, and Squeak slipped. Chairs tipped, pictures flipped, music ripped. Eek! Squeak squawked. Eek! Pip yipped. Oh, gee! Squeak peeped. Yikes! Yelled Pip. Hey, look at me! Squeak squealed. Whoopee! Pip squeaked. This is fun, piped Pip. Lots of fun, sang Squeak. But when it was all over, the big room was a mess, and the brothers were in big trouble, because the party was the next day. Together they looked at what they had done. I have an idea, said Squeak. I have one too, said Pip. I bet mine's better than yours, said Squeak. But it wasn't. It was the same idea. The brothers got busy. Squeak hammered. Pip sawed. Squeak found a curtain. Pip found a pole. Squeak noticed a problem. And then Pip fixed it. Pardon me. Peep had to touch up a few of his pictures. Squeak watched him, and he didn't cough once. Squeak needed to practice. Pip stayed and listened, and his ears felt just fine. By the night of the party, everything was ready. When the curtains parted and the audience cheered, never had Pip's pictures looked so beautiful or so big. Never had Squeak sung so magnificently or for such a long time. And at the end of the show, Squeak bowed to the audience, and Pip bowed too. And then they bowed to each other because they were both stars of the party. Bravo, Squeak! Bravo, Pip! The audience shouted. Hooray, hooray! The evening was, as they say, a triumph. The guests all exclaimed that this year's party was the most fun ever, and Pip and Squeak had to agree, although Squeak still said that his hogberry nog was the best in the universe. And Pip still said his was the best in the universe, plus 50, no, 100 miles outside of it. And so that's the story of Pip and Squeak. Like all stories, we can learn from this, can't we? Pip and Squeak were two brothers. They were very competitive, weren't they? And they were always thinking that theirs was the best, the biggest, the fastest, the longest, and that somehow that they were better than their brother. And maybe you have a brother or a sister that you constantly fight with. Well, you should remember the lessons of Pip and Squeak, because no matter how big your painting is or how long your song is, it is always better when you do it with your brother or your sister, because then it absolutely, most certainly, is the biggest and the longest. Well, what I'd like to do now is, what I have here is a tarot deck. And this is a Celtic tarot deck, and it is based on the Celtic mythology that many people in the world followed at one time, and many more people are following it today. And I'd like to just select one card, and I just reached in and picked this out, and it's the wheel. Okay, the wheel in history's telling, the wheel was a big deal when humankind invented the wheel. They invented a way to move things. Before the wheel, if you wanted to move a box of rocks, you had to pick it up and carry it. Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people could help you carry it, but you had to carry it. You had to hold on to it and carry it. But when the wheel was invented, why, you could put that box of rocks on wheels, and then you could pull it, and just one person could move more rocks or more apples or more ears of corn than ever before in history. So the wheel is a very important invention. The lady that's in here, she's drawing a circle, which is a kind of wheel, and she's holding in her hand a symbol that the Celts used that showed the power of the sun. It was the disc in the up in the sky. That was the sun, and it also was that circle. And I can see, it's difficult for you guys to see probably, but I can see that that's divided 8 times. And those are the 8 sacred holidays of the Celtic Wheel of the Year or calendar. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Well, it's time to say goodbye. I hope you enjoy this little video, and I hope to make another one real soon. Until then, peace and blessed be, and look after one another. We're all in this together, whether you're a Pip or a Squeak. Bye-bye.